To the President of the Fiji Chamber of Commerce and Industry, FCCI members, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, permanent secretaries that are here today. I borrowed the Attorney General's permanent secretary also. Oluvinaka, good evening to all of you. First of all, I must apologize, but we were told not to come until we were told. So when I was told, I came. I think it has something to do with FIA, and I can't, any questions regarding FIA, he'll answer it. Not my ministry. Indeed, a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, for me to be here to officiate here at the 2017 Fiji Chamber of Commerce and Industry Annual General Meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, just something that's quite important that came up in Parliament a little while ago, which is something that I really wanted to share with you. 2 weeks ago, Parliament actually approved Fiji's accession to the United Nations Convention on Contracts for the international sale of goods. And Fiji consenting to the convention is extremely important, as this would basically provide an international best practices and standards in relation to international trade. And it's also to avoid disputes, particularly during the negotiations phase and on the choice of law applicable to the contracts of sale. I see Marigold looking at me from there. It also allows for state parties to have an equal and fair system for the settlement of disputes relating to international sale of goods. Also to strengthen cooperation and encourage international trade between state parties to the convention and apply to contracts for the sale of international goods, which will be a uniform approach to the application of private international law. While the purpose, ladies and gentlemen, of the convention is to provide a modern, uniform and fair tax of law contracts with international sale of goods, reduce barriers in international trade, and promote the use and development of international trade, its contribution is significant in terms of introducing certainty in commercial exchanges and decreasing transaction costs, which facilitates the ease of trading across the borders. Ladies and gentlemen, the convention to date has 85 member states, including most trading countries, are accounting for more than 2/3 of global trade. And a number of Fiji's main trading and development partners, such as the People's Republic of China, the Republic of Korea, Singapore, USA, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, France, Germany, Brazil, are all parties to this particular convention. So the ratification of this convention will now lead Fiji to amend relevant laws to modernize cross-border commercial practice and align to international standards, and it'll also give a lot of confidence to people who will trade with Fiji. At this moment also, I'd actually like to reiterate the words of the Honourable Prime Minister that, I've said this over and over again in the last couple of years, that Fiji is open for business, and hence in order to achieve this, we need to work together to provide the products and services that are benchmarked for international standards which consumers and tourists are willing to pay for, at obviously the best price. It's extremely important that the Chamber of Commerce work in collaboration with the government. And this is the probably most important message. Not only will this benefit the whole business community, but the people and the economy as a whole. And I'm extremely glad to hear that I think you took heed of some advice that was bandied about a little earlier by the Honourable Attorney General and myself, that all the associations and chambers have finally gotten together and have a combined focus. And I think you all deserve a round of applause for actually achieving that. Doc, thank you very much. Over the past decade, ladies and gentlemen, the partnership between the Fiji government and the private sector has borne results, and the government provides the enabling environment for businesses to flourish. The private sector, to us, is the engine of growth, and which capitalizes on the opportunities that are made available to them. Fijian public-private partnership is not anything new, and similar models have been followed around the world and very successfully. And if I could share some of the good examples of the good collaboration that exists around the world, good collaboration and relationship the Chamber of Commerce has with their respective governments. In Mallorca, in Spain, the regional government and the Mallorca Chamber of Commerce are actually working together on business creation and training and internationalization. And furthermore, they work together to remove all the barriers that exist in order to rationalize the will of businesses. And whilst the Chamber of Commerce is working on ways of improving coordination to avoid duplication, Government, on the other hand, is working with the individual chambers of commerce on the islands in order to adapt their specific regulations to the national law that deals with the chambers of commerce. So you can see, just from that particular example, we really like to follow suit similarly, so that we can build a great relationship with our chambers of commerce. And the end result of those collaborations speaks volumes, with far much greater impact on the economy, both directly and indirectly. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of supporting the industry and business development, the government has introduced and implemented a number of pro-business investment friendly policies which has resulted in growth of the various sectors, such as dairy and textile and garment and footwear and the manufacturing sector in general. The government, in its bid for deeper cooperation and empowering the private sector, has extended a grant facility to professional bodies, which some of you would have seen. And this is an opportunity to bring practitioners together and look at ways to improve the standards of their industry and improve the service delivery and to build the skills. And also, I must add, there's a particular sector that is also being looked at, which is women in business. And I can tell you right now, we have made a submission to the Minister of the Economy to see if we can get some money too. And in addition, the Fijian government believes in enhancing dialogue with the private sector. And in this regard, we have continued to encourage the formation of industry and professional associations. And this provides not only an opportunity for the industry to share information and resources and capacity amongst each other, but also provides a common voice to the government. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where industry, groups such as FCCI play an important role. I understand the main role is to promote a positive environment for business and to defend the rights of entrepreneurs and be the common voice of business from across the different sectors. And this is a very important role as you serve as a bridge between the private sector and various stakeholders in government. And furthermore, you offer an influential, and I say that again, very influential and respected channel for business leadership to help the government manage those shifts in a collaborative manner for the benefit of the national economy and the regional economy as a whole. Ladies and gentlemen, as you're aware, the Ministry of Economy also has begun the process of stakeholder and public consultations on the 2017-2018 national budget. And this process is a unique but very important process. It will allow all Fijians to contribute to the national budget. And as part of the process, there will be specific discussions with the private sector in May, I think it is. And in this regard, I also look forward to all the industry associations and business communities making their submissions to the budget process and to provide the government with new ideas that can influence future products. Again, ladies and gentlemen, the Fijian government will continue to provide the support and at the same time listen to what the industries have to say. We strongly believe that the FCCI has the potential to grow in every way, and we will continue to contribute to the economic development and attractiveness of our region. Before I finish, ladies and gentlemen, if you really want to know how much we listen, the Honourable Attorney General has even gone out to students to listen to them. So we listen to all Fijians with respect to what goes on in our country and its economy. Anyway, with those few words, thank you very much again for allowing me to officiate here this evening. And as I said, I brought, we have a Trade Commissioner, Avi here from PNG, he's present, Permanent Secretary from Ministry of Trade and Tourism, Permanent Secretary from Public Enterprise, and the Deputy Secretary from Land. So if you have any questions with respect to anything that is related to our ministries, we'll be glad to answer. Thank you very much.
Honourable Minister Koya, the Permanent Secretaries, President of the Fiji Chamber of Commerce and the Fiji Chamber of Commerce Committee members, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm honoured to be at this event this evening. It's truly humbling to be here with so many esteemed and successful business people of Fiji, and not only Fiji, I see a lot of foreigners here as well, so it's truly humbling to be here. I came to Fiji 2.5 years ago to explore opportunities and to come back to my country of birth and to see how I could get involved in Fiji. After exploring many different sectors, it became very evident if there was one thing that was missing, really missing in this country, it was something that Fiji really needed, it was good tertiary healthcare. And through my relationship with MIOT International in Chennai, India, and our subsequent partnership with BSP Life, MIOT Pacific Hospitals has come into being. It took around 20 months to reach the goal of making MIOT Pacific Hospitals a reality. But I'm not here to plug the hospital, but I think we are all stakeholders in good healthcare in this country because it affects us all. So just to give you an overview as to where we are with MIOT Pacific Hospitals, we are progressing very well with our plans. If you've been to the hospital, you've seen the construction happening down in the basement of the hospitals. We have ordered all the equipment that we need. It's currently been loaded into the ships and will be here in the next month or so. And you will see some very big changes, positive changes, and new services that's never been offered in Fiji before being offered at MIOT Pacific. But we will tell you more about it when it happens. I'm not here to plug the hospital, as I said. But I want to talk a bit more about how I got here and got involved in this project. A little bit about my background, as Dr. Noor said, I'm a Nandi boy. I was born in Nandi. I come from humble backgrounds, but I remember a simple and a very happy childhood growing up in Nandi. I went to Nandi Sangam Primary School. Don't hold it against me. And after my primary school, I moved to New Zealand. I went to Aurora College in South Auckland, New Zealand. And then I'm a graduate of Auckland University, as Dr. Noor mentioned. After I graduated, I worked in Auckland for a while. I left for Sydney in the year 2000, and a year after I moved to Hong Kong. I've been living in Asia for the last 17 years and currently resident in Singapore. I started my private equity fund, Mount Sophia Asset Management, in the year 2012. And 2 years after that, after the elections, I came to Fiji in November 2014. After a decade of last being here. On my arrival back here, I found Fiji that is young, dynamic, and ambitious. I see so many opportunities in Fiji. Yes, there are constraints, but nothing that can't be overcome. From my perspective as a businessman, as an investor, and also as a local boy, the two main constraints that I see is the shallow talent pool, and that's a function of being a small country, and a small capital market. And once again, that's a function of being a small economy. Two things which are absolutely necessary to take Fiji to the next level. So we need to allow expertise in, we need to allow capital in, we need to tap into every bit of human capital available to us to grow this country, because it's the people that will grow this country. That includes the women in business, that includes every sector that is not currently formally involved in the economy here. We also need access to financial capital, and our financial markets needs to be broader and deeper. And as a former Fijian, as a Fijian diaspora, as you'd call it, these are two areas, amongst others, where I feel the Fijian diaspora can be of great help. Since my first visit here 2.5 years ago, after a long time, I've spoken to many former Fijians who are keen to come and make a difference. They want to know as to how they can help and be part of Fiji's progress. They're passionate about Fiji. My own siblings, and I've got 3 of them, are looking to come back. I have cousins, friends who are former Fijians all over the world. They want to come back. I have friends in Hong Kong, Singapore, and other parts of Asia living in that part of the world, but also New York, London, even Germany and other parts of Europe, who aren't even Fijians, but they want to know more about Fiji. Fiji as a name has a great brand equity. Fiji carries a lot more weight than you think it does. It's, you know, if I'm in New York or London or Hong Kong, I mention Fiji, everyone's interested. It has such an amazing brand equity, and we need to capitalize on that. And I believe this is where the diaspora and the relationships that the diaspora has been able to cultivate globally can make a huge difference. I don't know the exact numbers of how many of we are in terms of the former Fijians diaspora, but if I, you know, just doing a back of an envelope calculation, if you take the first and second generation of people who have left Fiji, I'd say it will exceed at least 250,000. That would be the minimum. And in Fijian context, that's a large number. And if you look at countries that has developed rapidly over the last 40 to 30 years, if you look at China, for example, in the 90s and the 2000s, 50 to 70% of foreign direct investment came from the Chinese diaspora. You know, they were the ones who brought money back into China to grow China to the level it is where it is today. Same applies to India. And in India's case, it wasn't just the financial capital, but it was the intellectual capital as well. It was what they call the non-resident Indians, so the Indian diaspora based in the Silicon Valley, you know, graduates of MIT, Princeton, and so forth that came back and set up the technology industry that is the biggest export earner for China, for India today. Similarly, I believe there are many former Fijians who I have met personally in my travels, and I know since I've lived overseas for a number of years, they have a huge appetite to invest back here, but they need the right investment products, right platforms, relationships, and a little bit of a push. And I believe for Fiji, this is something that we really, really need to tap into. And while the government is trying its best to have a regulatory framework and the environment to allow this, as Dr. Koya mentioned in his earlier address, I think the private sector can play their part too, and we can play a big part. The reality is that we are not only competing against ourselves, the local businesses, we are competing against the world. If we want to access global capital, we need to strive to be the best in the world at it. I believe I'm part of a lucky generation in Fiji, as a Fijian, whether it's Fijians living in Fiji or part of the Fijian diaspora. No other generation before us in Fiji has had the tools that we have today. The world is a much smaller place than it used to be 30 years ago when I left Fiji. The advent of internet, cheaper international travel, digitization, means we can play an active part in the local and the global economy from our tiny country. Access to information, for example, which was difficult. I remember when I was growing up, the only access to information you had was through for the newspaper, which was the news was 3 days old, or radio, the ABC, the Australian radio station, and you didn't have instant access to information. But access to information has been commoditized now. So we don't need to think of ourselves as a small, isolated country. We are as connected as anyone to the global economy. I believe we are at the forefront of this paradigm shift that's happening in Fiji. If you look at Fiji today, we have stable political situation. We have increasing foreign direct investments. We have increased air and sea connectivity. We have relatively cheaper communication costs. And in general, you know, as a country, we get greater exposure and we have greater connectivity. So I believe that our generation is at this juncture where we have an opportunity to shape this country in a massive way. For me, personally, healthcare is a start. And I'm looking at many opportunities in various sectors. And it's nice to be doing business at home. You know, I live in Singapore and they talk about the pioneer generation Singapore. And this is the generation which has shaped Singapore over the last 30 to 40 years to take Singapore from being one of the poorest countries to richest countries in the world in the span of a few decades. That makes me very excited about this little country of ours, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. And I believe we should all encourage as many of our people to come back to this beautiful place we call home. And as an example, and once again without plugging myself or plugging the hospital, the MIOT Pacific Hospitals project is a good example of the diaspora coming back, leveraging on the global relationships, bringing in new capital, and working with a local player to make much needed tertiary care investment in this country a reality. And obviously that wouldn't have happened without the help of the government and the environment that they are creating to make investment attractive in this country and easier. Ladies and gentlemen, and I believe there are many other areas this can be achieved. So I think we should all strive to promote Fiji. There are many people out there who I talk to in Hong Kong, Singapore, and these are Fijians who are successful in their own rights, and they all want to come back and do something over here. And I think if we can tap into that, firstly the intellectual capital and the financial capitals, and if we are able to work together with people like yourselves, we will take Fiji to the next level. Thank you.
Mentioned this May 16, 2018 consultative process with the Ministry of Economy conducting the question and answer session on that evening. It's 6 p.m. So I hope to see everyone there from the private sector. So
I'd just like to confirm that the nominations that have been put forward, we have now 6 positions on the executive board that are available, and we have 6 nominations being put forward. The procedure of the nominations were that they were to be filed within 7 days of the AGM. I can confirm that this is done, and that each nomination had to be nominated by a financial member. This was also done. The first nomination, Mr. Maisie, was nominated by Anatukite. Dr. Ali, nominated by Anatukite. Sunil Sharma, nominated by Anatukite. Avi Raju, nominated by Anatukite. Peter Savona, nominated by Anatukite, and a new nomination, Sarah Jane, also nominated by Anatukite. So I would like to move that those 6 nominations be accepted. They're all in order, and I can have somebody to accept that. Thanks. Okay, so I'd like to invite those 6 people back onto the executive board, and they'd like to come forward with the rest of the board members. And just to let you know that the positions for officers are the President, Vice President, Treasurer, Secretary, etc. will be advised within the next 30 days once the